Welcome, everybody, to a brand new live episode of the Geek Buddies here on the Outlaw Nation channel. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by this gentleman here. Oh, wow. We did
Hi, everybody.
Go ahead.
You
ahead.
did
Mike.
it wrong again. It's fine. You did it wrong live. You just can't. You've just given up on it. You're like, I don't want to be like, yeah, it's John Rogan. We're here with the buddies.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
This is how you know he's had a long day. This is also how you can tell that I've been caffeinating since I woke up this morning and I haven't stopped. But I'm Michael Vogel, writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies. We're a new employee at a virtual reality company, and I'm getting ready to go to Europe on Monday morning.
Oof, Europe. Yeah, Michael will be gone for 2 weeks on the show. We're going to miss him for sure, but it's a lot of fun that you're going out there to hang out there overseas and do all the things that I wish I could do alongside you and our other friend who is going, JG, over there as well, and a host of other people there for a wonderful ceremony. But
not just the ceremony. The ceremony.
Yeah.
Going to Prague for the first time.
Yes.
Going to the ceremony, our friend's wedding.
Yes.
Going to Disneyland Paris.
Yes.
Going to see Beyonce in Paris.
Wow.
Going to Paris Pride.
Wow.
It's going to be a big trip.
Paris, and then are you swinging back to Boston? Is that what is that out now? Is it both?
And
Boston?
then I'm flying to Boston so that I can be on the Cape for my annual 4th of July celebration. So, which is where I will be going to see Jurassic World Rebirth in a theater on Cape Cod, which is not the best theater, but it's where I saw Dial of Destiny. It's where I saw several other movies. It's one of those theaters. It's like an old theater on Cape Cod. Like, it's nice. They do, like, the screen is nice, but it's like they've got like the little tray tables and you order your food and they bring you the food and your drinks. So it's not like an LA level screen, but I do get chicken tenders and vodka soda while I watch it. So I'm excited about that part.
Is that like with our San Diego when we went to see Deadpool and Wolverine, where they brought us food, where Shannon McClung was having pancakes in the middle of the movie? Yes,
which is we will be seeing at Comic-Con, where the theater in San Diego where we saw Deadpool and Wolverine last year is where we will be seeing Fantastic Four this year, and I'm sure Shannon will order pancakes once again.
Maybe an omelet or two. Who knows? Who knows? And of course, we don't have Shannon because he's still on a boat somewhere around North America, I think. But he will be back next week at some point. So we do lose Michael on Monday, but Shannon and I will certainly hold down the fort for a couple of weeks while Michael is gone. We may have some guests coming through. Some people mentioned guest buddies, which I think is a really fun way to
guest buddies.
So, but we are live here on a Friday afternoon. I hope you guys are kicking back with us, having a few drinks and hanging out here as you relax and put your feet up. This is a happy hour version of the show, which means we're going to talk about all kinds of things and just kind of roll through everything. There is some semblance of order, but topics are going to come up that we're going to talk about, and so that's kind of how we're doing things. So just to let you know, but if you want to send support here for the show and you want to have your questions, thoughts, or comments read on the air, the quickest way you can do that is to send it in through Streamlabs or Superchat. You see the address above. Mikey said, and I just pinned the Streamlabs address a link in the chat as well. So send in your love. We'll get to them in just a little bit. But let's get to the first story, Michael. This is pretty exciting stuff here. And that is, of course, Spaceballs 2. It is happening. Spaceballs 2 is happening. This is pretty surprising stuff. Kind of came out of nowhere. I know it's been Josh Gad has said he's been working on it for quite some time here, but now it's official that Rick Moranis, Mel Brooks, apparently Bill Pullman, and Daphne Zuniga are coming back to reprise all their roles here from the original Spaceballs, but they're adding Lewis Pullman, who is, of course, Bill Pullman's daughter, who will undoubtedly play the son of him and Zuniga's character, and Keke Palmer will be along for this one as well, which I kind of love. Josh Greenbaum is directing from a script from Benji Samit, Dan Hernandez, and Josh Gad. And of course, Josh Gad, who loves himself, told everybody that people loved his script. So he is going to be on board with this one. Michael, your reaction? Spaceballs, I think, is one of your favorite films growing up. Now there's a sequel coming 38 years later, and there was a little teaser shown as well. What do you think of this news? What's your feelings here?
So when I was a kid, I saw Spaceballs in the movie theater, and I thought it was the goddamn funniest thing I had ever seen. Like, I loved it. The thing about Mel Brooks's style of humor,
yes,
is there was a time when Mel Brooks' style of humor was the funniest thing in the world on like Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. Like he really pushed the envelope in what you would do. Then you just reach a point where Mel Brooks' humor gets it's a little old.
It gets old. Yes, he's not as sharp. You're right. Yes,
like Robin Hood Men in Tights and especially Dracula Dead and Alive. Like, I don't know if this humor works. So when there was always talk about a Spaceballs 2, I was like, look, the young kid that thought Pizza the Hut was the funniest thing he ever saw in his life is excited about this. Is this actually going to be funny? I don't know. Right. But that teaser trailer that they released this week was so funny.
Agreed.
Going through there was the Star Wars prequels, the sequel to the prequel, the TV show that was a spinoff of a prequel that was a sequel, and then going into the Harry Potter movies and the Jurassic World. Like the way they did the whole thing was the exact right tone for what Spaceballs should be, and got me real excited. Like I am now legitimately excited for Spaceballs 2.
Yeah. And God loves them.
Which as Yogurt said in the first Spaceballs movie, it's Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money, which I really hope they stick with that as the title.
It's funny you bring that up. There it is. Who knows? God willing, we'll all meet again in Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money. There you go.
Also, like Mel Brooks is like 90.
Mel Gibson Spaceballs is old.
Mel Gibson Spaceballs, I don't want to see. I don't want to fuck with it. Mel Brooks is like 90 and he's in the movie. Also, the fact that Rick Moranis is coming out of retirement.
Amazing.
To come back as Dark Helmet is like, that's reason enough to be like Rick Moranis coming out of retirement to be in a movie. If you grew up in the 80s, like that's enough reason to be excited all on its own.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah, listen, this was probably the last of the best of Mel Brooks, and I really right. And then, as you said, it gets a little bit of law of diminishing returns. I did not like that History of the World Part 2 on Hulu. That was really a chore to get through. So I'm hoping that because Josh Gad has been spearheading this over the years, and like I said, he said that whoever he showed the script to really loved it. I hope that the end result is a really good movie that we can enjoy, that kind of expands what we saw in the first one, but also still keeps the humor of the first one. Of course, we've lost Joan Rivers as well. So who will be back?
I mean, no Joan Rivers, no John Candy.
No John Candy.
So like very sad.
No Dick Van Patten either. So there are people who are no longer around. So how are they going to move all of that and make it work? And what's the story they're going to tell? It's going to be real curious to see. But the thing you hit on, Mike, is what makes me the most excited, which is the return of Rick Moranis. I mean, there's just so much. I just seen him pop up in a Mint Mobile commercial recently. I was like, wait, what? And you get that feeling like, God, we miss him. We miss him so much. And he was such a big part of our formative years in the 80s and 90s. So the fact that he'd be coming back to do this, I think, is a lot of excitement. You know,
I mean, I got to tell you, a couple weeks, maybe it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was over with the boys. We were all like hanging out on a Friday night, and instead of hitting the bars, we stayed in, we played Mario Kart, and then randomly decided to watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which I've not watched in years. Right. And man, that movie holds up. And Rick Moranis is great. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is great.
Yes. Yeah, for me, it's Parenthood. You know, I just recently saw My Blue Heaven for the first time. I'd never seen that before. Really enjoyed it.
You just saw My Blue Heaven for the first time?
Yeah. It was like 6 months ago, I think we saw it for the first time.
Do you know that I still tip everybody? Because Steve Martin had that whole rule in that movie that you tip everybody. He's like, yeah, you tip everybody. Also, when he walks up to Carol Kane in the grocery store, and he's like, what does he say? He's like, you melt all the stuff. Oh, God, I love that movie.
Such a good film. But yeah, and then, of course, we haven't seen much of Daphne Zuniga over the last few years. No. She's been, kind of keeping it chill, doing her thing. Bill Pullman, I've been enjoying in that Netflix series that he's in. There was 4 seasons of it, and he's gotten older, so it's be curious to see what kind of work he's going to do in the movie. But I think overall, it's just great to have this back, and hopefully they nail it. And I think Josh Greenbaum is an interesting choice for director, because Barb and Star Visit Del Mar is one of the most unusual yet interesting comedies ever made. And so having that guy in charge of Spaceballs seems to make a lot of sense spiritually. So I hope they get it right by the end. Any concerns, Mike? Any concerns on this at all?
I mean, the concerns is that Mel Brooks humor the humor of today. I mean, that really is like humor has changed so much, and But it is true. Like to your point, it's like Mel Brooks's humor got more shticky as he got older. But if you go back and watch Blazing Saddles, particularly History of the World Part 1, like those things still hit. Like those are still very funny. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if that type of humor, like that type of parody, works today. But it's a similar, like we have the Naked Gun reboot coming out at the end of this summer, which is also a specific kind of humor. It's not Mel Brooks, but those two types of humor, like in the 80s, that really worked. Will those things work for today's audience? It's going to be interesting to see.
Do you think what do you think Lewis Pullman's name is going to be? Like his dad is Lone Star, his mom is probably Princess Vespa. So what do you think his name is going to? There's no way they're still together, right? They're probably going to do a riff on the Kylo Ren situation, don't you think? Where they're kind of broken up or split up or whatever, don't you think?
Maybe, or they could be living together. I mean, it could be like Bill Pullman and Daphne Zuniga are like perfectly happy living together and living their life, and he's now a prince. Sure. And then it's Bob. And then Lewis Pullman is sort of the new Lone Star. And he's the one flying around going on the adventure. And maybe Keke Palmer is going to be his co-pilot in the way John Candy was Barf. Like, who knows? Like, it could.
That's a great point. I'd love to see Keke play that in the role, taking over the humor of John Candy, because he was so great in the first one. And Keke's fantastic as an actress as well.
Yeah.
All right. Haskell says, I saw a report Pullman's going to call Starburst. That would make sense. Starburst would make sense.
By the way, that's a great name.
Starburst. I love that. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. But what do you all think? Let us know in the comment section and send in Streamlabs and Super Chats about this particular story. What you think, what you want to see from Spaceballs. Do you have any concerns, or what are you excited to see when it's all over? Let's move on to this, a little more serious and Star Wars related. This is Andor. That's right, Andor. We're going to talk about the news on Andor, and that is that Andor has topped the Nielsen streaming charts. The third-party streamer, you all know, ranks the most watched streaming original movies and acquired titles in the U.S. by total minutes views. The more new episodes on offer, the greater its chance to hit that top 10. That's why Netflix, with its almost binge approach, routinely dominates the charts here. And Disney Plus, with the second season of Andor, though, the Mouse House went with a different strategy, dropped them all. In the first week of April, 21st through 27th, the first 3 episodes, the show came in 10th overall with 721 million minutes. Then it rose to 6th place for episodes 4 to 6 with 821 minutes. Then 5th place with 830 minutes watched for the week. Episodes 7 through 9 did. And the finale numbers are now in, with the show ranking in first place, Michael. First place for the week of May 12th through the 18th with 931 million minutes watched when episodes 10 through 12 debut. It was one of the few titles on the overall top 10 that's either library titles with no new episode like Bluey, Grey's Anatomy, Criminal Minds, or a Netflix binge title like You and Forever. So that's some pretty amazing numbers for a very dark show in the end that you and I both, and many, many people are feeling is very prescient and now very sadly, very topical as we see what's going on in our world today. So what are your thoughts on the fact that it hit number 1 in the Nielsen charts here by the end of its run here?
I think it's great. It just means that good TV does good.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, like that's what it is. I mean, I think it is a couple things. Like one, it is a good sign. Like for everybody can argue. This I'm going to say about Star Wars the same thing I've been saying about Superman.
Okay.
In the geek world sphere, we can all yell and scream at each other all we want about what is Star Wars, what is not Star Wars. Andor has no Jedi. It's not enough aliens. It's not Star Wars. Darth Vader would not be okay with sexual assault. Like we can all have our geek arguments.
Sure.
The success of Star Wars or Marvel or DC or anything for these studios is dependent on us, but not solely dependent on us. It has to get out to other people. Like the non-nerds have to go, this is something I want to watch. Andor season 2 became something that people wanted to watch. True. And part of that is that geeks were talking about it so much. So like there is that, but there's also a level that non-geeks were like, yo, this is really, really good.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a really good sign that those things, I think it's also, we talked about this a lot leading up to it, but there's been the two strategies. You either dump everything the day it comes out, you do the strain, you know, you're like, here's all 10 episodes, watch it this weekend and binge it. Or you do the weekly thing where you do one episode a week. What they chose to do, the way that they package those episodes, they sort of got a little bit of both. They created a thing where for 4 weeks, Tuesday night was an event, but every Tuesday was like a mini binge. Like I sat down for 4 weeks in a row. I cleared my schedule for Tuesday nights. I made no plans. I ordered my dinner and I sat down and knew that I was going to watch 3 episodes of Andor. So I got that binge feeling. Like I felt like I was getting more than, as we always say, like when, you know, Ahsoka drops and you're like, oh, cool, a 22-minute episode. Like I knew that I got to watch like a nice chunk of Star Wars, but I also got to do it for 4 weeks in a row. And I think that worked really well from the way that we were all taking in the show. It meant that for those 4 weeks, it's kind of all that we were talking about. But in the way that Nielsen charts their numbers of minutes viewed, it really benefited them. So I think like for Disney, there's a lot of good lessons here. I mean, the dumb lesson is make good shows. Right. That's the lesson that we always say. But the other lesson is I think that this sort of halfway model that they did with the binge, it's a different way of developing content. Like Tony Gilroy just decided to do these story arcs, but I could see a world where this becomes sort of a way that people want to do it. Stranger Things, I mean, I don't know how they're splitting it up, but Stranger Things is kind of doing a similar thing with season 5, where they're trying to own Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's with season 5. Like they've split that up into chunks. I don't know if it'll be as neat as the arcs of a year that Andor was. But I think this idea of taking a show and eventizing it over multiple weeks is something that, particularly given the success of Andor, we'll see more of.
I think that's great. They make some excellent points here, Michael. Yeah, because this idea of having a cake and eating it too, how do they make, because people have been complaining on both sides. Like you can't win. Some people are like, drop them all now. Some people are like, wow, I want to go back to the weekly thing, right? And so the fact that you can maybe play right in the middle here and hit that kind of sweet spot for a majority of people, that's what makes people excited about watching it. As you said, it leaves the event feeling of it all still there, while also giving you a lot of content to chew over in the meantime as you wait for the new content to come through. And these are the shows that it defeated here. The Last of Us, Poker Face, The Rookie, which I can't believe people are still watching The Rookie, The Handmaid's Tale, and Mobland were all came like just hundreds of millions of minutes below the Andor season finale. And I also think it speaks volumes because a lot of people were like, well, I don't know, coming back with season 2. The fact that the numbers grew every week, I think tells you that the word of mouth of that show was also exploding. And people were like, maybe, you know, because Star Wars has been suffering through a lot of, I don't know if I'm into it. I don't know if it's my thing anymore. How do you solve that? Well, people get uber excited about a show and keep telling their friends, no, I'm telling you, it's awesome. It's great. And then they watch, they love it. They're telling their friends. So it becomes a thing that builds upon itself. So the fact that it ended on a high, especially when we heard about The Last of Us season 2 finale ending on like half of the viewers of the opening of the first episode of the season, this speaks volumes about the incredible quality of this show. And that's maybe why Tony Gilroy is doing multiple victory laps over the last few weeks in numerous interviews talking about the process. But
well, and it also, I mean, as you were kind of referencing and alluding to, in a way that is very stressful, Andor feels like it was very finger on the pulse culturally with where we're at. But it is also like, we talk about this a lot with Star Wars. Like when George Lucas made Star Wars, he was talking about the Vietnam War. Like he wanted to do fighter pilots, and he wanted to do sci-fi, and he wanted to do a bunch of stuff. But there was a rhyme to the reason of what he wanted to talk about. When he made the prequels, he wanted to talk about like some political stuff, and everybody dinged him for it. And that has turned out to be something we actually all enjoy. But with a lot of Star Wars, and we've said this before, like, a lot of people, I think J.J. Abrams did it first, maybe, but it's always that, I'm so excited to work on a Star Wars. I got to open my toy box and throw all the toys on the floor and have an adventure. And that's great. But I think what Star Wars shows is when Star Wars is about something, it's good.
Yes.
And this is not like about getting into politics and left or right or liberal or whatever. Just when a creator comes in and goes, I'm going to use this galaxy far, far away because I want to talk about this. Star Wars works great. When Star Wars is just talking about Star Wars, I think that's where it sometimes starts to lose people.
It's a great point you bring up, because that's I was recently watching an interview from this week. Katie Sackhoff, on her podcast, interviewed Brent Spiner. And I thought it was a great conversation when they got into the Star Wars versus Star Trek approach. And there is this idea of what separates the two in what they satisfy. Because everybody always treats it like it's there. One is the Beatles, one is the Rolling Stones, or one is Elvis and one is the Beatles, that kind of thing. But in fact, they serve two different things in the world of fandom and in the world of sci-fi fandom, especially. And I think those things you're alluding to, like Star Wars is really at its best when it's about something. And even the original trilogy is about something, right? It's about stopping this evil, destroying the world, as you said, based on the Vietnam War stuff. And even the sequel trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, rather, you could argue is about the idea of how do we, the tragic nature of what can happen when you fall to the dark side, when you have all this promise and you have all these things behind you. So that's where it really kind of, for the people who love the prequel trilogy, obviously, there's a lot to kind of dive into, right? It isn't about the Trade Federation or anything like that. It's about what Anakin is enduring and going through as he falls to the dark side. So you have,
I mean, it's also about the Trade Federation, but
fine, sure. But like,
it's in the crawl.
I mean, that's where the sequel trilogy kind of fell apart, because it felt like it was meandering rather than being concretely about something as a through line through three movies, and it got kind of lost. Even though it is about Rey and Kylo, it does kind of get lost with these tangents and these things that don't really help the overall storyline.
I mean, we can have a entire Geek Buddies argument about Rian Johnson trying to make it about something and then that being taken away.
Fair point.
But we'll have that discussion another day.
We'll have to save that for one of those evergreen topics for sure. So, but let's stay in the world of Star Wars. Let's talk about this. The BFI just recently dropped the original print here. This was on opening night of the BFI Film on Film Festival in London. I think this happened yesterday or 2 days ago. Then they screened the ultra rare original first print of George Lucas's Star Wars. They discovered the print, and the announcement that it would be screened publicly caused a stir among Star Wars fans early this year. In the original print, 1977's movie subtitled Episode 4, A New Hope is not included. For those of us who remember the original print, we know it didn't say that in the opening crawl. And the famous scene set in the Mos Eisley Cantina, of course, between Han and Greedo. Lucas changed the scene in a future edit, so the Greedo shot first, which of course became the big Han shot first thing. But Lucas has always defended it. But Kathleen Kennedy showed up. Kathleen Kennedy showed up at this screening here, and she did it because she wanted to, quote, legitimize the original print being shown. And BFI Chief Executive Ben Roberts said it was a, quote, a miracle the print was good enough to screen publicly. She said it's incredible folklore. Kathleen Kennedy did. Even when I came into the company, there was endless conversation about where everything was and what was, in fact, the first print, and it's quite remarkable. And then when she also talked about Star Wars overall, but let's hit that first section and then we'll get into what her other comments were. So, Michael, this idea of a BFI, I mean, I almost thought about flying in for the screening and flying back out, but I don't want to fly right now. But like, there was a thought of that, because just to see the original print there at a London festival and you and I had such great times in London. Like, it was just this idea of doing it sounded awesome. But the fact that there's an original print out there and that Kathleen Kennedy went, is that moving us closer, Michael, to a possible release of these original prints for those of us who remember them? What are your thoughts on all of this?
If they think they'll make money off of it, they will. I don't know. Yeah. It is funny. Like, I do think people that are like, oh, we shouldn't show those because that's not what George wanted. It's like, everybody calm down. Like, those things existed for a long time and made Star Wars what it is. Like, yes. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that it exists and that it's like, we get to see this version of it. Right. Even though it's not ultimately what George Lucas wanted, and he wanted to go in and change a bunch of things, and some of those things were good changes and some of them were less good changes. I think being able to go see that original version that people saw in 1977 is a really kind of cool, awesome thing. I mean, ultimately, it's not that different. I mean, everybody treats it like it's some kind of, like, it's not that different. But I think seeing that version of it is kind of cool. I think the fact that she felt she needed to go to legitimize it because people were complaining about it is odd, but good for her. Good for Kathleen. Give her a trip to London.
I mean, why not? But I think there's no way she does this without like some intention, right? Kathleen is very savvy person in the world of Hollywood. No matter what your feelings are about her, as you sit at home griping about her on your computer screens, she's very savvy and has survived for decades in the business of Hollywood, and it's not really that conducive for female producers, Hollywood. So she's been able to work with for decades in this arena, and I think her going there is a massive sign of something about this is going to something with this is going to happen. I feel like, and you were saying the money situation, I know, but I also think George needs to kind of let go because Kathleen has a lot of respect for George, and I don't think she'd release these things if George was really having a massive issue still with this kind of stuff. And as you get older, you kind of soften your stances. You see that people who are really hardcore about something when they were younger kind of soften as they get older. And I wonder if maybe this is the opening of a softening kind of situation. Because I think if Lucas put his foot down and said to the BFI, don't show this, I find this to be insulting, I don't think they would have shown it. And so to me, this makes it feel like we're moving closer to the possibility of getting these original prints out there for people to see. But as you said, there's not that much difference, but it would just feel cool to own the original approach to this.
It'd be cool. I don't know. I think, you're right. Maybe. Also, maybe Kathleen Kennedy has a friend.
Oh.
Is it my friend? So you never know. Who knows? But I do think it's cool that it exists.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone says I want a 4K of George's ex-wife's cut version. Okay. Sure. But we're not done with Kathleen. Kathleen also had some comments about Star Wars, considering what's going on in the franchise right now. And she said, I really think that now we're in a position, and she was talking about, they were asking her about Starfighter and all the stuff that's coming up here. And she said, I really think that now we're in a position where it's broadened the possibility of stories and filmmakers we can bring in to tell stories that mean something to them. It doesn't necessarily have to connect every little thing that's been done in Star Wars. It can actually be a standalone story that then builds into many, many other stories talking about the future of the franchise. So it seems like she's saying two things at once, Mike. She's saying they could be standalone, but then again, they could also lead to something else. So kind of removing that they're standalone. So how do you parse out what she's saying here? And what do you think about her approach to this? Because the idea of broadening the possibility of stories and filmmakers, isn't that where people have been creating whole YouTube channels aimed at Star Wars for opening the door to other perspectives and other points of views and what have you? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think what she's saying is that they can start creating new stories that can lead to other things that don't have to be tied to the Skywalkers primarily, but to Star Wars in general. That if Sean Levy's movie comes out and it's about whatever is happening 5 years after Rise of Skywalker, it doesn't have to be about Poe Dameron. It doesn't have to be about Rey starting a new Jedi Order. It doesn't have to be about the remains of the First Order. It can just be about people in the Star Wars universe. But, and I think this is the caution that, and maybe this is what she's getting at is, but you can't just have a bunch of random movies come out that are standalone in a Star Wars universe and think they're all going to do amazing. It's similar to the Marvel universe. Like you and I were texting about the article that was in Variety this week that was kind of talking about how everybody was excited when Thunderbolts came out because it was well received, but ultimately it didn't do well at the box office. And, I was tweeting about it and I was saying, ultimately when you're telling stories in a giant universe, the thing that makes people excited is the universe is moving forward. And this is sort of a new phenomenon that Marvel really started when they built the Marvel universe. It didn't really exist before that.
Yes, true.
So now you have the Marvel universe, you have the Star Wars universe, you have the Star Trek universe, you have these things. And so when you're telling a story, if Star Wars just goes, hey, we're just going to tell cool stories in a galaxy far, far away, and they just release a bunch of random, here's this story by this director, and Taika Waititi did this story about different characters, and then we have a story about these characters. If those movies are all fucking amazing, sure, that's great.
Of course, yeah.
But the bigger win and what worked for Marvel with the Infinity Saga and did not work with them in the Multiverse Saga was, what is the bigger story you're telling me, and am I excited about it?
Right.
Because what worked in the Infinity Saga was you had some movies that were not as good as other movies.
True.
But they all made a shit ton of money because we were excited about the bigger story.
Right.
And so with Star Wars, it's kind of the same thing. So what she's saying is we might start to create new characters that have nothing to do with the last trilogy. And that's probably, there's a logic to that makes sense. But once you create those characters, you better make me excited about where they're going and create a new, bigger story that I'm invested in, because I'm more likely to go see a story that I want to see how the bigger story ends than I am to just go see a random movie.
Yeah, I mean, I look at these comments, and I think the back half of the comments are basically hinting, as I said, this is a very savvy producer, savvy person in the world of Hollywood. I feel like she is essentially hinting that the Starfighter film might lead into Rey. It'll seem standalone right until maybe the end. And if the rumors about what the story is and what Jeff's reported on the hot mic, that it is Ryan taking care of a young charge and delivering that young charge possibly to Rey, which is not what Jeff said. Jeff said more that Ryan Gosling is taking care of a young charge. I'm adding that some people are speculating that it could be the charge is handed over to Rey's Academy. It connects up to Rey's movie, because remember, this is set 5 years apparently after the end of Rise of Skywalker. So in a way, it is standalone, but that scene at the end makes it connected to something else. That
maybe.
So I wonder if she's maybe hinting at that possibility and kind of, putting that flag, raising that flag to see how people react to it. But the first part of it, I think, is I look at it as possibly her manifesto from the beginning. I really think that now we're in a position where it's broadened the possibility of stories and filmmakers we can bring in to tell stories that mean something to them. Like, I think that's something that she probably has slowly been wanting to do through the whole process, is to open the door for more perspectives on Star Wars, more people's points of views. It doesn't mean that it's all been a success, but it does feel like this has been a concerted effort, a conscious effort on her part to make Star Wars more open, more accepting, more diverse in its approach to try to appeal to more people globally. Even Star Wars Visions is a way of appealing to a lot of people globally, even though I don't think hardly any of that is canon. It's still an amazing approach that she has tried to do. It hasn't all worked, obviously, and many people will tell you that. But I think this is a little bit of her echoing her own kind of personal manifesto in her approach to Star Wars, and then maybe greasing it a little bit to let people know that the Starfighter is doing that. Am I wrong on this? Am I off base? Okay.
Sorry, my phone just rang and it cut out my mic for a second. I think that is true. I think that is definitely something that she wants. I don't know that the comments she made are sort of leading to that. I think there is a big concern that internally in Lucasfilm, there is a big debate about what to fucking do, because they don't know what to do without the Skywalkers, but they also know they need to move on from the Skywalkers. So I think what she said is basically we're telling stories that aren't connected to all the other stuff. We're going to start new stuff. That's it. Additionally to that, I think you're right about everything you said. I think she does want to open things up and have Star Wars be told from different perspectives, and that Star Wars is for everybody. And there's some people that really embrace that and some people that don't. But I think that at the end of the day, if the stories that are told, no matter who it is that's telling those stories, are really good and engaging, I think the audience will be there.
Yeah. So, I don't know what they learned from Andor. And of course, Filoni and Beck are rumored to be taking over. So, but, Kathleen will be there producing the other film. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next 5 years with Star Wars, how people respond to these films and series and what have you, and what the legacy of this is all going to be once we get a little bit farther away from it overall. So we'll see. All right, Michael, let's get to your section of the show here.
Let the cartoon begin.
Yeah.
Yay! Shannon's not here for his trailers, but I get to do cartoons, because we have a ton of cartoon news.
Yes.
Let's start with DC. So DC has announced that they are developing a animated Mr. Miracle series.
Yeah.
This Mr. Miracle series, Scott-Free Mr. Miracle with his wife Big Barter right there. Mm-hmm. This is based on the Tom King run of Mr. Miracle, which again, Tom King, if you are sleeping on Tom King in comic books, you really need to check him out because his Mr. Miracle run is now an animated series. His Supergirl run is a movie that is coming out by DC. And even what was the other one? Oh, the Vision series that's coming out is loosely based on the Tom King run of Vision that he did. So this Mr. Miracle series involves Scott Free and Big Barda living on Earth. Scott Free is sort of the son of Darkseid. Darkseid's found the anti-life equation. And Scott Free is someone who is born of gods and raised by the devil. Has to deal with everything that's going on. And if it's anything, this is actually a pretty wild thing for them to do, because if it's anything like the Tom King run that it's based on, like, this is actually a pretty adult, mature story, but it's not adult in the way that Harley Quinn or Kite Man or even Creature Commandos is adult. Like, it's not about adult humor and adult comedy. Like, it's about some pretty heavy shit. So it's really interesting that they're doing this. And this kind of goes along with a lot of the other DC animated things that are coming out, although most of them are on the younger side. Like, we have the Starfire animated series that they are currently working on. We have the My Adventures with Green Lantern, which is the Jessica Cruz Green Lantern as a teenager. That's sort of a spin-off of My Adventures with Superman and takes place in the same universe. And then we have a Starfire series that's coming out. That's an origin story for Starfire. So all three of the, and we have the DC Studios Superpowers show, which is about a bunch of young superheroes, including the Flash, Terra, Lightning, at a superhero academy where Martian Manhunter is the principal, learning to use their superpowers. So all three of these lean on the younger side. And even My Adventures with Superman, which is getting its 3rd season coming out soon, is sort of a YA young adult version of Superman that's going to fit in with the Jessica Cruz series. But this Mr. Miracle series is kind of like an outlier tonally. So it's really interesting. And like, when you add in Creature Commandos and Harley Quinn and Kite Man, they really do, on the animated side, like, we're getting back to the old days where DC animation was really kicking ass all the time. Like, if you haven't watched My Adventures with Superman, which I know John has not, you really got to watch the 2 seasons of My Adventures with Superman. It is a absolutely delightful take on Superman, Lois, Jimmy Olsen, Lex Luthor. It's so fun. And so, this is really, really exciting news. John, as someone who has not watched My Adventures with Superman, how do you feel about all these animated series? I'm sure that Mr. Miracle is the one that you're most interested in, but what are your thoughts on DC animation?
No, I love, listen, when the 90s is my jam, right? That's when I was I started obviously in my teen years getting into comics, but the 90s, DC was on a run, man. In late 80s into the 90s with the Justice League International, which apparently is going to influence some of the stuff in Superman with the Justice Gang. I was really excited about all that stuff. But Mr. Miracle, there was a great run in the 90s with Mr. Miracle. I was reading all of that. Big Barda, everything to do with Scott Free. Like, I really loved that character and fell in love with that character. Also, it's one of the most unusual outfits for a superhero. It is loud yet powerful, the look of him. And I just love that look. And Big Barda being this kind of, strong, massive woman that he is in love with, and their situations. And then they're always crossing paths with like Darkseid and with the other DC superheroes. So for me, I was a big fan of it. So the fact I haven't read this run, I'm going to find this run. And
you haven't? You got to read it. You are going to love it.
I'm sure there's a collection. I'm sure I will. Yeah. The fact that it's a darker approach makes me even more excited to read it, because I always felt that was an element of Mr. Miracle, that whenever they veered into that, I was really into that story. So I like that. But the other stuff, I probably won't. Although Superpowers is very tempting. Like, that's something where I could probably dive into. But the other stuff is very curious and very interesting. And if I was a younger person, 100%, I'd probably be into the Jessica Cruz Green Lantern stuff. And certainly Starfire. But I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I can't wait to watch this stuff. But I think it's great that it's all coming out. And as you said, maybe a second golden age here of DC animation coming back to be a part of this stuff. And look, they haven't missed a beat. There's been a lot of stuff over the last few years that's been fun to watch. The Crisis thing was fantastic. The Dark Knight Returns interpretation was really good. Hell, I even like that Bruce Lee Dragon one that wasn't maybe the best, but I enjoyed that. I haven't seen Batman Ninja 2 yet, but I want to see that one as well. So there have been little things that I've enjoyed watching, or even the Hellblazer stuff I thought was really cool. So there's been little things throughout. So yeah, this is exciting stuff, and I can't wait for that Mr. Miracle thing to come through. So, but does this feel to you, Michael, like this seems to be all done under the auspices of James Gunn, right? So people are like, well, if Superman doesn't do well, is this the end of the James Gunn universe? It feels like they sense that Superman is going to do well, so they're moving forward with all of this stuff that essentially will be under the James Gunn situation, right? Or will they be able to create their own kind of stuff and not necessarily be canon? What's your feeling on that?
Well, I think that's where I think on the Warner Brothers animation side, that's where they were kind of confused for a little while. I think that when James Gunn and Peter Safran came in, there was this moment where it was like everything is part of the universe. And that gets really constrictive really fast on the animation side. And I think that it took them a while, but they figured it out. We had the Caped Crusader come out, which was kind of its own thing, kind of a new take on Batman the Animated Series. My Adventures with Superman is not the Superman that we're going to be getting on the big screen.
Right.
But Creature Commandos is a part of the universe. So, you know, they're sort of finding their areas of what is part of the universe. And Mr. Miracle, maybe it's going to be part of the universe, maybe it's not. Like, we don't know. So we're going to have to see. But I think that it's good that they're letting the animation universe kind of be its own thing. And that includes the Dick Grayson Jason Todd movie, the animated movie that's coming out. Like the fact that like there's certain things that can kind of be their own thing is great. So it'll be interesting to see. I love it. I love the more animation, the better for me. And I'm excited about Mr. Miracle. I'm probably most excited for My Adventures with Jessica Cruz, My Adventures with Green Lantern, only because it's a spinoff of My Adventures with Superman. And like, again, I cannot reiterate that in the 2 seasons that exist of that show, it is a fucking great Superman Lois Lane show. So I highly recommend people watch it. John.
Yes, I know.
I highly recommend that people watch it.
I know I'm disappointing 2 friends of mine because I'm not diving deeper into their Superman love or Superman projects, right? And I know I have to address this, and we do have Superman coming out in like 3 weeks, so maybe it is time to spend all next week sat in front of my television watching all of these things back to back to back.
It is great. Like I will say that like whether you were talking about Superman and Lois or My Adventures with Superman, in the lead up to Superman coming out next month, it's a great time to binge Superman and get hyped. So I think either one of those would be great choices. But that is not all the cartoon news that we have, because this past week was Annecy over in France, where a lot of big animation news happened, and Disney and Pixar came out strong. So first off, Disney had a big first look at Zootopia 2, where we got some more information about the story of Zootopia 2 and about how Judy and Nick are going to go undercover in unexpected and new parts of Zootopia, and their partnership is going to be tested when they discover a book that Gary the Snake, played by Ke Kwan, is after, because it can clear his name from crimes that he's committed, but some other villain has already killed to obtain this thing. And it introduces reptiles to the metropolis. It features new locations like Marsh Market, where there's a beaver named Nibbles. Like there's a whole new world for Zootopia too. So a little bit more information. You know, we talked about the trailer a few weeks ago, but I think people are super, super amped about this. So that was really, really exciting. But then, not to be outdone, Pete Docter showed up from Pixar. They showed about the first 20 minutes of Elio, which is going to be coming out soon. But then they also showed footage from Hoppers, which is coming out soon, where a girl kind of enters a robot beaver's mind to understand the world of beavers. They talked a lot about Toy Story 5, which we already knew because of what they had told us, that Toy Story 5 was going to be about sort of toys versus tech. But we've now seen the first image of the pad that Bonnie is going to have that is frog-shaped and called a lily pad, which I think is pretty clever. And the lily pad is apparently allegedly going to be the big villain of this movie. So it really is toys versus tech. But what has people kind of really, really excited is the first look at Gatto, which is from Enrico Casarosa and Andrea Warren. Now, Enrico Casarosa was the guy who directed Luca, which was the first movie that was released straight to Disney Plus during the pandemic. A lot of people feel like it got a bum rap because it didn't go into theaters, but a lot of people really love Luca. There's a lot to love about it. Well, he is returning to Italy with Gatto, which is about a cat named Nero, who is in it deep with a mob boss, but then forms a unique friendship with a human artist. And the two of them work together. And along the way, Nero may find himself, which sounds like a very Pixar plot for a movie. It's like when you first heard that there was a rat in France who wanted to be a chef, and you're like, what the fuck is that? But then you see it and you're like, God damn, that was brilliant. And so not only does this sound very Pixar, but in the images that they showed in some of the animation tests, the entire look of it is very CG with sort of a painterly overlay over it. So it feels like a very stylized version of Pixar taking a lot of what people really enjoy about, say, Arcane. Or even Predator, Killer of Killers, which kind of has a painterly CG look, and Pixar is kind of doing their take on that. And that got people really, really excited. So the fact that we got more news on Toy Story 5, which is a big sequel. Oh, and that's not all. We also, not at Annecy, but in the past week, we heard that although Brad Bird did write the script for Incredibles 3, Peter Sohn, who directed Elemental, is going to be the director of Incredibles 3. And so although Elemental might not be everybody's favorite, Peter Sohn actually was someone who is kind of Brad Bird's protege. He like kind of worked on all the films that Brad Bird did, kind of was really close to him during all the Incredibles stuff. So him stepping in to direct Incredibles 3 actually seems like a nice kind of expansion for Pixar, but it is still a story that's penned by Brad Bird. So we got sequel news with Zootopia 2, Toy Story 5, Incredibles 3, but we also got a first look at Hoppers. We also got our first information about Gatto. So a lot, if you are a Disney Pixar fan, there is a lot to chew on here. Obviously, I'm a big fan of this. John, what has you most excited about all the Disney Pixar news?
I loved Luca. And I have the Steelbook 4K of Luca because there's just something about that film that I just really thoroughly loved. I've watched it even when not even putting in sometimes I'm too lazy. I won't even put in the thing. I'll just go on Disney Plus and watch it because there is something really sweet about that film that just spoke to me, and I've always enjoyed it. I liked the look of it and the way they brought that city to life, and so the Italian city to life. So the fact that they're doing something like this again from the same director, and this idea of the cat and Gatto, I love the idea that it's called Gatto. Like just so much of it is really cool. That's exciting for me. So I'm very much on board, and it's going to get a theatrical release. So we're going to see how that really does, and maybe there's a way of kind of going full circle from where we started with COVID, which is why Luca was on streaming all the way to where this guy's next one gets to go out in the theaters, which I think will be fun to see for me. But listen, hearing about the Toy Story 5 stuff, I know people were upset about 4 and what I liked 4, and I'm excited for 5. I'm very curious to see if they can pull this off, and everything I hear about it makes me even more excited. Love that they're bringing back Joan Cusack to play Jessie. The idea of a lily pad being a villain, I think, is genius as well, because you think of Lotso, and how would you think of a cute, cuddly teddy bear as being the villain? They've shown a propensity to do really good stuff with villains that you don't necessarily think are villains.
Or Prospector Pete in Toy Story 2.
Right, who was just trying to bring the family together, right? And you were like, yeah, why not? No, it's because he's his own selfish desire. So those things are really smart with how they do them. So I'm really curious of that. The Elio thing is really interesting. My screening is next week, and the fact that they showed 27 minutes of the film, to me, makes me think that they really think that they've got to push this boulder up the hill to get people interested in this movie. But everything I've seen from it has made me interested in the film as a Pixar fan. So yeah, go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
I think I have a feeling that Elio is going to be exceedingly fine.
That is not, they put that on the poster.
Nobody's going to quote me on that one. But I have this feeling. And look, I'd love to be wrong. I would love to go see Elio and come out and be like, fuck, I loved that. Mm-hmm. But just something about the way it's been promoted, the way everything's happening, it just feels like it's going to come out, and it's not going to be bad.
No,
like no one, like I don't think we're gonna come out and go, wow. Like I know we don't all agree on this. I think Lightyear is bad.
Yeah, you're crazy. But go ahead.
Like I think Lightyear is a bad movie. I think I'm gonna come out of Elio and be like, that was cute, that was fine, but it wasn't what I want out of Pixar. Like it wasn't what I want, and so I think it's just gonna come out and do its thing. It's
kind of like Wish. Wish isn't Pixar, but you came out of Wish going, this isn't what I want from a Disney animated film. I get where they were going, but
no. I think Wish is a garbage movie.
Wow.
Look, I love Disney more than anybody, and I will defend so many Disney choices. I can talk any Disney movie you want to. I hate Wish with a fiery passion of 1,000 suns. Like I hate that movie on every conceivable level. It makes me so angry.
Okay. I've never heard you speak about it. Animated.
Oh my God. You know why you never hear me speak about it? Because I saw it once in the theater on opening night, and I was so angry, and I have never watched it again. Wow. I think I've watched every Disney movie at least a few times. Like even the ones that I don't love. Yeah. What?
You give it a chance. You give these films even if you
I'll rewatch stuff to go, all right, well, let me watch it again and just kind of take it all in and see what worked and what didn't work. Like Wish, I can't do it. But I think Elio's going to be good. But I do think Hoppers is really unique. I think Gatto sounds amazing. Yeah. Toy Story 5, I'm sort of split on it because there's a part of me that really loved. I like Toy Story 4. I'm with you. I don't think it's as good as Toy Story 3, but I really enjoy the movie. Yeah. And there's a part of me that really loved the fact that Woody chose Bo and moving on.
That's real life.
Rather than staying with the toys. Like, I love that. So Toy Story 5 comes along, and apparently Woody's going to change his mind because he's coming back into the, like, it's going to be, he's back. And like, there's a part of me that doesn't love that he's coming back because I would have loved that had been the real goodbye. Right. But the executive part of my brain is like, yeah, dummy, you're making a Toy Story 5. Like, people want Woody and Buzz. Like, you can't go, Woody's not in the movie. Like, you've got to do it. I understand why they're doing it. It makes sense. But I really felt, I felt the goodbye at the end of Toy Story 4 was really impactful for me. So I'm kind of sad that we're doing take backsies, but it is what it is.
It's almost like what's his face going back and taking the toys back from Bonnie, right? You know what? I'm not going to give.
Yeah, like if Andy showed up and he was like, "Never mind, I'm out of college. I want my toys back. Moving into an apartment.
I can make money off these. Give me my toys.
I'm doing a podcast. I need some toys for the back wall. Bonnie, give me my toys.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
Bitch, these are mine.
Oh man, but the Peter Sohn thing, let's talk about this, Mike, real quick, because this to me is very interesting. The fact that Brad Bird is not going to come back, and I think he's got another project that he's working on.
He has a project called Ray Gunn that is at Skydance.
But at Skydance, right? Exactly. But Peter Sohn is an interesting choice, right? I mean, The Good Dinosaur, you could arguably say, is maybe the worst Pixar movie or close to the worst Pixar movie. Elemental did not come out and grab.
I put Cars 2 as the worst Pixar movie, but yes, Good Dinosaur is the second worst Pixar movie.
Yeah, and then you get Elemental, which did make almost $500 million or made $500 million worldwide, but like it did not start out grabbing people's attention. And there are still people who don't 100% like the movie who are Pixar fans. So it's a curious choice. I know he's under Brad Bird's like mentorship and stuff, but it also feels like Pixar likes Peter a lot. And I thought he was great as Socks. I know you don't like Lightyear. I thought he was great as Socks, but it feels like they want to give him a win here. And Incredibles 3 seems like a good stacked deck to give him a win. But are you concerned about this considering his track record as a director?
I think the fact that they're giving him Incredibles 3 speaks a lot. And I think that what we don't ever know, and this is a thing that is true, particularly with an animated movie that takes 4 years to make, which is internally, there's a point where they know if a movie's not going to be good.
Right.
Like there's a point where you are too far past the point. Like you've boarded the movie for like, 10, 15, like you've gone through the story process. You've boarded the movie. You've had the brain trust. You've worked on it. It is being animated. You have a release date. It's coming. And you sort of know you probably didn't land it.
Yeah.
And you do your best. And so with both Good Dinosaur and to a lesser degree Elemental, although I still think it kind of falls in the same category.
Yeah.
If Pixar really likes him and goes, this guy really gets it. He is good.
Yeah.
he happened to work on 2 projects that kind of got out of hand. And if Pete Docter and the Pixar team don't blame him for that, and see that he knows how to make stuff like that's the part that we don't have. Like, we can look at it from the outside and be like, I did not like these movies. This guy should not direct. Right. But we don't actually see what's going on behind the scenes. So to me, if they're giving him Incredibles 3, there has to be some level of confidence that they're not blaming him for the performance of Good Dinosaur, and they're not blaming him that Elemental didn't light the world on fire when it was released.
Right. I mean, he almost gets credit for Elemental hanging on for as long as it did. That probably works in his favor, because if it had crashed and burned, I don't know that he would be the guy they would have chosen for Incredibles 3.
I think that Good Dinosaur is just a bad movie. Right. I think Elemental is almost a good movie.
Right.
Like, there's parts of Elemental. There's parts of Elemental that I think are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then there's parts of Elemental where I'm like, you just are off. This is missing the mark for me. But the parts that are good are really, really good.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. There's something in the chemistry that doesn't 100% get there, and the way they stage certain things and giving the background, you're like a little bit like, oh, if they had chosen to do this, I think it would have worked a little bit better. But yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. It's almost a good movie. Yeah, still enjoyable to watch though, if you guys haven't seen it. All right, anything more in the world of animation, Michael, or are we done there?
Nope, that's it for cartoons.
Let the cartoon begin.
I need one that says "Let the cartoons end." We do. But let us know what you guys thought about it. You know, send in your Streamlabs super chats. Let us know what you think about the Star Wars stuff, Kathleen Kennedy's comments on this, the first cut being shown, and all the animation stuff that Michael just talked about here on the show. What your thoughts are about all of it, what you're looking forward to, what you want to see, what gets you excited, what makes you nervous. Let us know all of it here, all the DC stuff as well, please. And speaking of DC, we should touch on this, Michael, real quick before we move out of the DC section. James Gunn was in this interview earlier this week on Entertainment Weekly, talked about updates on the Batman Part 2. Apparently, he still doesn't have a script for it, although this interview was supposedly in March, which I don't know why they didn't put that after his comments, but whatever. This is supposedly in March that he still hadn't seen a script. But he said that a Wonder Woman movie was being worked on, and if we're to believe this was in March, that means it's been worked on now for the last 3 or 4 months. And he gave some more information on Superman and the fact that it's not the Justice League in there. It's going to be the Justice Gang, and that he is working on a sequel of sorts after Superman, which a lot of people seem to think that's him tacitly saying that he's working on a world's finest film. So anything from this interview that stood out other than the Wonder Woman stuff, which you can, if you want to talk about, you can, but like, is there anything that you took away from this that made you go like, oh yeah, this sounds exciting, or I'm in on this? What are your thoughts?
I don't think anything was, I mean, he kind of was just towing the Wonder Woman thing is the big news.
Yeah.
You know, this whole the Batman is super important. We're seeing a script soon. I'm seeing a script. We're very excited about it. There's nothing wrong. Pay no attention. There's nothing to see here. It's sort of like, look, I will believe that when you start shooting that movie.
Yeah, true.
Until then, I'm like I'm gonna look at you with a side eye. I think that it's been stated kind of publicly that Superman, Batman, Supergirl, and Wonder Woman are like the 4 pillars that Warner Brothers is sort of building around. So the news that they're working on a Wonder Woman movie is not surprising, but it's pleasing.
Yes.
Like, we've just heard nothing about Wonder Woman aside from this Themyscira. There's a Paradise Island TV show.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's its own thing that he kind of said was moving slow, but like, we're also kind of getting this Wonder Woman movie in the works. I like that.
Yeah.
Then, the Batman Brave and the Bold of it all, whatever. And then his secret, I'm working on a sequel that's not a sequel, but it's kind of a sequel, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Like, what it really, like, big picture, what it feels like is there's a reason that the Justice Gang is the Justice Gang and not the Justice League.
Right. Which he said.
Like, what it really feels like is there's no Justice League without the Trinity. There's no Justice League without Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Right.
And that if he's going to tell whatever number of movies he's planning on telling, where there's the Justice Gang and Maxwell Lord, and then ultimately Superman does whatever he's going to do in this movie. Batman and Damian show up at some point, and then we get a Wonder Woman, and then Supergirl is kind of flying around over here. And that's when things become a league. Yeah. Like, that's cool. Yeah. I could be on board with that. Like, that could be a cool thing. I don't know. We'll see. So I think there's some good ideas here. It's, I'm excited about
Superman.
I'm excited about Superman. Yeah. I know we're going to talk about the new trailer that came out this week in a minute, but like, I'm excited about Superman. Okay. I'm excited that the initial ticket sales seem to be going really well. And that people, again, like, it's like I've been saying, like, it doesn't matter that the people that are excited for the James Gunn Superman and the people that want the Snyderverse to come back are fighting every minute of every day on social media. Right. What matters is, are other people excited about going to see Superman? And based on the initial ticket sales this week, it seems like people are excited. So hopefully that, and it bodes well, even if I don't like, and we said this 1,000 times, but even if I don't think that James Gunn's Superman knocks it out of the park, I want to see at least 2 or 3 movies to see where this goes.
Yeah. You want him to have enough rope to see where this goes. All right. But I mean, you didn't give Zack Snyder that. So let's address.
I did. I saw Man of Steel.
You did.
But I saw Batman versus Superman.
You were grumbling about it. And then
I didn't love it. Yeah. But I was like, okay, well, like, let's see what happens. Batman versus Superman is the one that really kind of turned me against the whole thing.
I agree.
And then look, Justice League, what I saw in theaters wasn't his fault.
Right.
And I do agree, for all that I dislike Zack Snyder, that his Justice League that I watched on HBO Max, as maybe a little bloated as it was a better movie than what Joss Whedon did.
Yeah.
Like, I liked it more. Right. And look, is there a world where, as much as I dislike Batman versus Superman, if Zack Snyder's Justice League had come out in theaters, would I have been like, okay, I don't love this, but I'm excited to see what comes next? Yeah. Maybe. Okay. Maybe.
No, because I want to pin you down on this. And I don't always pin you down, but I want to pin you down on this.
Pin me.
Well, because of the Zack Snyder stuff, I don't get into I try not to get into our battles on our text threads about Snyder, because you love to take the shots at Snyder, but like, we got to talk about this. Like, the beats feel very similar. And are you giving James Gunn more leeway because you like his approach to this? Because he's saying, I'm doing the Superman movie, right? And then after that, I'm probably working. Essentially, he seems to be indicating he's going to be working on World's Finest, which is in essence is BVS, right? So it's not BVS, like
maybe, but yes, yeah. Assuming that that's what he's doing, yes.
And you can look. I know Creature Commandos is out there, and I know Supergirl is coming, but like, listen, the casuals are focused on the big ones, and that is Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Those are the ones you're looking at, right? So it feels like Warner Brothers, once again, still following the same kind of beat here. So should people be concerned? Does this concern you if they do a World's Finest after having only one Superman movie, and we don't know who's going to be Batman yet, if it's going to be Robert Pattinson or a Brave and the Bold Batman? Like, doesn't it feel like the same beats that Snyder was kind of assigned to do by Warner Brothers? Are we repeating history? That's what I'm asking.
Maybe. Okay. I think that if they did a World's Finest movie before the Batman Brave and the Bold movie, that might be a bad choice.
Okay. Oh, okay. So if you just introduce Batman, let me say something. There's 3. Let me ask you something. There's 3 possibilities.
Batman if Zack Snyder had done, and I don't think, and by the way, this isn't Zack Snyder's fault. This is Warner Brothers' fault. Like, just to be clear, like, I don't think that Zack Snyder came in and said, here's what I want. Warner Brothers was like, Avengers is killing. Let's rush this. So I'm not putting this on Zack Snyder. Right. But going from Man of Steel to Batman versus Superman and not going, here is a Superman movie.
Yes.
Here is a Batman movie. Here is where they team up. Like, that is how you should have done that, for 100%. Sure. Give Superman a movie, give Batman a movie, give Wonder Woman a movie, give them all. Doing Superman has his movie, then we're going to have Superman and Batman fight, and P.S. Wonder Woman's here too, was not...
I agree.
And again, I don't know that that's Zack Snyder's choice. I think that's more Warner Brothers' choice. So I do think that doing a Superman movie, we know we have the Supergirl movie coming. My preference would be that we would at some point get a Batman Brave and the Bold, so that each one of them get their own moment to shine,
right?
And then do the World's Finest or do a version of Trinity, like the Trinity arc, where it's like the three of them coming together, like Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman coming together is great whenever it happens in the comics, whether it's them teaming up to fight bad guys or in Kingdom Come, when the three of them get together to have a meal at Planet Krypton and have a conversation. Like the three of them together is always gold. So that could be really, really cool.
But then are we following the same beat? If we introduce Wonder Woman to World's Finest, it's like introducing Wonder Woman to BBS. So
I said give her her own movie.
So all three should get their own movies and then come together, which I agree with you, by the way. I think that's the best approach. Yes.
That is what you should do.
But are we going to have two Batman movies coming out within 6 months of each other? What do we do?
We might. Listen, we've talked about that 1,000 times. I don't know how that makes any sense. So we'll see how that all lands. But look, to your point about, because like some people on Twitter have, dinged me for this as I get mad at all of the Snyder bros shitting over every single piece of footage of Superman that comes out before the movie comes out.
I do think it's excessive. As a Snyder fan, I do think some of those Snyder bros.
It's a little excessive. It's a little excessive. But people rightly are like, look, you make fun of Snyder. You don't like the Snyder movies. And that's true. I did watch all of them.
Yes, you did.
Like I can actually sit down and be like, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. But look, James Gunn has a lot of James Gunnisms that I'm not the biggest fan of. I think they work for Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. I don't know that they're going to work for Superman. But I think what I've kind of made the decision on is I was getting really sort of less excited about Superman because I was just reading like just the hate and the hate and the hate. And what I kind of got to is I went back and watched the first trailer that came out, the trailer that came out a few weeks ago, and then the trailer that we're going to talk about. And for me, I don't know if the movie's going to be good. It might not be. I might be really disappointed. I might think it's too James Gunn cheesy. I might have a bunch of things. We will do a spoiler review. We'll all be drinking. We will talk about it. But the stuff that I'm actually seeing, I like.
Okay.
Like that scene of Superman and Lois talking where she's interviewing him, to me, that is quintessentially how Superman and Lois Lane are supposed to be. So there's enough that I actually am seeing that I'm like, this feels like what I want to see.
Right.
Now, again, the execution, when I see it, I might be like, I don't know. But for now, I'm more excited than not.
Well, then let's do, as this is a very easy segue, let's get into the Superman trailer that dropped earlier this week. A Superman tickets on sale trailer here, which, of course, our friend JG got tickets for the group of people to see this here. We saw a lot in this particular trailer that was very interesting, Mike. I'm going to run down some of the stuff that was in this trailer here. We got baby Joey, this weird baby shot here. It's Superman is trapped in space with the Metamorpho, Crypto, and Baby Joey. Baby Joey is the son of Metamorpho and Sapphire Stag. So that's interesting. He inherits transmutation abilities. We got his heat vision at the end of the trailer, which I thought was really cool, fighting off seems to be Maxwell Lord's people. We had Lord Tech be a part of this thing. There's Jimmy Olsen has a laptop where it says that. Of course, Maxwell Lord owns the company with the Justice Gang. We had something that looked like a white Martian, a mysterious white-skinned alien briefly appears. James Gunn confirmed the creature is named Mr. Handsome and is a LexCorp creation. Lex Luthor's army, we got to see them, a squad of armored soldiers, and them going into the Fortress of Solitude with Metamorpho to their weakening Superman. Then there was another mystery villain who was unmasked to reveal an ape-like look. Toy leaks suggest this is both Ultraman and the Hammer of Baravia, and there were pocket dimensions. Superman clings to debris near a massive portal above Metropolis with Jimmy Olsen and James Gunn confirming there, Mike. So, dude, not only are there 27 characters in this movie, now we've got all this stuff. So, I mean, what do you think of the trailer? And do we feel like this is going to be like this massively overstuffed film now as more of this stuff comes out? What are your thoughts about this most recent stuff?
Like I said, I really enjoyed the trailer. I enjoyed a lot of the action that we saw. Look, we can all debate whether we like teeth hitting the screen or not. We can all debate that shot. That definitely leans more towards the James Gunnisms that I'm talking about. It wasn't enough that like totally pulled me out of the trailer, but I was like, okay. Look, it's gonna be weird. like we've talked about this, like, it is definitely like we said this before, like James Gunn is a fan of the Silver Age. He is a fan of dogs with capes and baby Joey. Like he's a fan of the weird shit, pocket dimensions. But, and I know John said this on his trailer reaction, like the fact that this was sort of a Lex Luthor driven trailer, which we haven't gotten. Like, I feel like the first trailer, we got a lot of vibes.
Yeah.
The second trailer gave us a really chunky Lois Lane Clark Kent scene.
Yes.
And then this trailer, like, really kind of gave us the Lex Luthor side of things, like what he's going for and what he's upset about. Right. And so I think we got all these pieces. Look, I think it is an overstuff. It is a lot. It is a lot. Yeah. We have the Justice Gang. We have Metamorpho and the Engineer and Ultraman working with Lex Luthor. We have this idea that maybe Lex Luthor has other aliens or other creatures that he's got doing his bidding. He's got a pocket dimension that he's potentially using. We've got a metropolis that has LexCorp, and Stag Industries, and Lord Tech.
Right.
So we got Simon Stagg, we got Maxwell Lord, we've got Lex Luthor. Like there's a lot of things. Also, we've heard that James Gunn was very inspired by All-Star Superman. All-Star Superman is a very episodic comic book. There was a lot of rumors that the movie early on was much more episodic in nature, that was like, here's this adventure, here's this adventure, here's this adventure, and that they've kind of recut and reshot some things to make it feel more like one big adventure. So like there's a lot of question marks with this movie. Yeah. But again, what I'm seeing on screen makes me excited. I like seeing Superman hold up a building while he's floating.
Yes.
I think that's cool, and I haven't seen that. I also like seeing his eyes burned around the edges from heat vision. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if that happens every time, but I've not seen that before, and I think it's kind of cool. Like, there's a lot of debate online that, like, David Cornsweat's Superman is weaker or more of a wuss or more whatever, but I think a Superman that is as strong as he is, but we're seeing the limits of those powers. Like, I think that's interesting. Like, I think that's cool. So I don't know. I'm more excited about everything, but like to be fair, I also think the people that are running around saying James Gunn is a genius and this movie is already their favorite and this is the classic Superman they've been waiting for, I'm like, well, maybe see the movie before you make that call. Like, let's just see the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was the best trailer of all of them that they released. I did enjoy a lot in this trailer. It made me feel a little less trepidatious about the movie, although the teeth thing really is just not my bag, but it's James Gunn.
You were hilarious watching that video. You were like, okay, yeah, that teeth thing happened, and you were like, ugh.
You know me, man. But yeah, I mean, I like the visuals in this, as you pointed out in my reaction, like the Lex Luthor driven part of it. I was so desperate to see that over the last few trailers, so to finally get a chance to see that was really cool. But the visuals here are stunning, just amazing. And I like Cornsweat as Superman, but I think some people are going to have an issue with it because he's still learning on the job. And I think there's a difference. Like, Cavill radiates this kind of energy, which maybe is why people were upset that his first battle looked like it cost thousands of lives in Metropolis, right? Because he looks like he'd be more capable of handling that situation. Cornsweat doesn't necessarily radiate that. And I think that's on purpose. They're trying to make you connect with someone who historically people haven't necessarily felt like, oh, he's just like me. They may have aspired to be Superman, but he's making Superman more vulnerable, which I think is going to be a fascinating approach to it, because I think he's trying to make people connect to Superman's journey and make it universal to their own journey in their lives, trying to find their own voice, their own powers, their own place in the world, trying to do what's right in the world. I think there's an approach here. So I do think people are going to have an issue with that, who want to see a different kind of Superman. But at the end of the day, everything you said is correct in that we just got to see the movie. Like, everybody already killing it, or everybody already loving it. You have no fucking idea till you see the movie, right?
I mean, I think, and we've talked about this from day one, like what we are seeing in these trailers, when we talk about the fact that there's like 37 characters in the movie, what we are seeing in the trailer that makes me go, okay, maybe this is going to work is contextually, I kind of already understand certain things.
Right.
Like there's the crew at the Daily Planet. I know what that is. And I'm excited that we've got Cat Grant and we've got Steve Lombard. Like I'm glad that like we're getting all of the characters that I enjoy in the comics and in my adventures with Superman in the Daily Planet that John should watch. My Adventures with Superman, seasons 1 and 2, now airing on HBO Max. The Justice Gang and Maxwell Lord is one thing. Right. Like, this is a superhero team that does things their way, and Superman is not that. So I know that we're like Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific and Maxwell Lord are sort of bunched together over here.
Right.
I also know that the Engineer and Ultraman, and I'm assuming Metamorpho, are with Lex Luthor.
Right.
Maybe not by choice, but that's where they are. So when I see that cast and I'm like, there's 1,000 different people and what's all going on, like, if I can start bunching people together and go, well, this represents this part, this is this part, this is this part, it goes, okay, well, then maybe there's a rhyme to the reason. Maybe this makes sense. It's the reason that movies like Infinity War work well, because they kind of went, look, we got a ton of characters, but it's the Guardians and Thor. And then it was like the Guardians and Tony Stark and Spidey and Doctor Strange and Groot and Rocket and Thor. And then it was like Cap and Wanda and Vision and Black Widow and Rhodey in Wakanda. Like, as soon as you start taking groups of characters, you're in Wakanda, you're on this planet fighting Thanos, you're getting the hammer. Like, you're like, okay, this works even with this many characters. And it feels like that's what Superman is lining up for, but we'll see. It still could be a mess.
Yeah, but I mean, the difference, though, of course, in that situation, Michael, is that you've had all these movies to lead up to.
That is, yes, that is absolutely fair.
Well, that's my concern here when I look at the movie. I know for us nerds and geeks, like, we're going to see it, and we're going to be, oh yeah, that's all cool. The Superman casuals, those are the people that you want to get to come back and see it multiple times. Are they going to feel like they're lost and out of place and not sure what's going on, or overwhelmed, keeping track of all these characters, pocket dimensions, this whole thing, go out, baby, a space baby from Metamorpho? Like, there's all kinds of stuff he's introducing, which is great. He's weird and all of that kind of stuff. With Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like there was a conceit where people went in going, this is going to be weird. It's Guardians of the Galaxy. I know that going in. And I know the construct. Superman is not where I go for weird. And so I wonder if some of the Superman casual fans are going to be, after a first viewing, are not going to come back because it's
going to be, that is the risk. That, like, is it too weird? Is what James Gunn wants to do, leaning into the Silver Age and the weirdness. But look, I'll give you a version of this movie that, like, I have no idea if this is what the movie is, but like, Superman is doing what he's doing in Metropolis, but the Justice Gang kind of keeps everything business as usual, and they don't fuck with the other big tycoons because Maxwell Lord is their buddy. But then he finds out that things aren't going right and that there's something going on, and Metamorpho is being held against his will, but Metamorpho is doing whatever Lex Luthor wants because Lex Luthor shoved his baby in a pocket dimension, and then Superman goes into the pocket dimension to save the baby. So you're like, okay, cool. Now, I don't think that that's what the movie's going to be, but like, that's how you start to go, okay, well, if that's that, then the Justice Gang is like, hey, don't fuck with Lex Luthor. We leave him be. And he's like, I'm going to fuck with Lex Luthor. And then there's conflict. And you're like, okay, that could be a thing. So I don't think that's exactly what the movie's going to be. And that doesn't get into the Ultraman of it and the Baravia and everything else. But I think that, there is an avenue where all of these characters are placed in the right place on the board, and it works. We have also seen countless examples, Black Adam, I'm looking at you, where you have a bunch of characters and you're like, what the fuck is even happening?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, we'll see. Obviously, as you said, we're only a few weeks away, and so we'll see how people react to it. And I'm sure there's early screenings, and I think they all sold out the Amazon Prime screenings there. So we'll definitely know what people are feeling about that movie very, very soon as these screenings start to happen. All right. Anything more to say on DC, brother? Are we good?
No.
Okay. All right. One last thing I want to ask you about is Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This is a show that we both thoroughly love, but it was announced that they are going to end the show with a 5th and final season. The cancellation was unexpected as it came over a month before the 3rd season premieres on July 17th. So we're going to get a 4th season and we're going to get a 5th season, but the 5th season is the end, and it's only going to run for 6 episodes, not the usual 10 episode run. And some of us were speculating after that most recent trailer that they were kind of lining up the possibility of a Star Trek original series spinoff that would be out of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So what are your thoughts when you hear this, that they're going to cancel it after a 5th season? It's going to be a truncated 5th. So we're gonna get 2 more seasons, but yeah, a truncated 5th. Your thoughts?
My first thought is put that image that you just put up again.
Okay.
This must infuriate the people on the far right, because this is the gayest picture of Star Trek I've ever seen. If you're listening to this, it's just all the characters, but each one has like a different color of the rainbow behind them. And
Pride
it
flag,
is like, this is the pride flag of the Federation. If I have ever seen it in my life, that is the gayest Star Wars. I'm saying that as a very gay person. That's the gayest Star Trek. That's the gayest Star Trek thing I've ever seen.
Well, I selected that picture for a reason. So I'm glad.
I think,
go ahead. Yes.
It's funny when you haven't even seen season 3.
And
you hear that season 5 is going to be the end. That doesn't feel like a cancellation to me.
Okay.
That feels like we've made a decision. Like it's like a cancellation is season 3 is about to come out and you find out this is it. And they didn't renew it. Like when season 3 is about to drop, they're in the middle of shooting season 4.
Right.
And you find out that season 5 is going to come out. It's going to be truncated, but the best thing about that is it means that the showrunners get to end the story.
Yeah, their way. Right. Good point.
Cancellation means, and this has happened so many times to geeks. Here's a show that you loved, and the season ended on a cliffhanger, and you never get to find out what happens.
Right.
That's a cancellation. This is okay. Like 5 seasons of a show. That's a good run. Even if the last season is truncated, like that is a good run of a show. And it means that they have the runway, even if it's not as many episodes as they maybe wanted, they at least get to go in and say, okay, this whole thing where we all know that Pike has to basically have this terrible tragedy happen to him and live the rest of his life in like a metal case. Is that going to happen? Are we going to figure out a way to sidestep that? Like the story that they're going to tell about Pike's arc and what happens to him and how the Enterprise becomes this new thing where Kirk and because there's characters that are currently on the Enterprise that we know are not in the original series.
Right.
And there's characters on the Enterprise right now that we know are in the original series. So the arc and the story of where do these people go?
Yeah.
Mostly Pike, but everybody else as well. Yeah. Who else? We haven't gotten Bones yet. We haven't gotten Sulu or Chekhov yet.
True.
So we've got a season and change. Well, I mean, we have season 3, which is going to happen. Beyond that, we have season 4 and a most of a season 5 to get all that information, which I think is that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating decision because I mean, how far ahead are they? Have they already worked out the bones of a season 4 and a season 5? As you said, they get to end it their way. Have they already worked that out? And was this the pitch?
Well, they're shooting season 4 now.
That's what I'm saying. We're just going to be waiting until season 4 and then season 5. So it's an interesting decision to announce 2 seasons ahead when a show is going to finish, and so I'm curious. I love it. I love the show. We love the show. We review the show. And so I'm looking forward to it, but I am also sad because man, I love this show. And it really, of all the shows that have come through for the recent Star Trek, this is the one that speaks my language the most. And so I'm sad that it's going.
I agree with that.
It'll run longer than the original series did, which was only 3 seasons. So that's a positive in the long run. So, all right, there you go. That's I think that's all the stories, Michael. So let's jump into some of these questions before we roll on out of here. You ready? You good?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. I am Two Flying Cam says that shirt is absolutely gas, Michael. MJ or Prince?
MJ or Prince? It's Powerline, bitch.
There you go. All
it's
right.
Powerline.
Cowboys fan 92 says, I cannot stay for the live show, but I'm going to throw my prediction for July's box office out there. July will go as follows: 1, Superman; 2, Fantastic Four; 3, How to Train Your Dragon. Wow, you're leaving off Jurassic World Rebirth, to be fair, which is not tracking as high as the previous installments box office wise, but an interesting decision. Michael, How to Train Your Dragon is out already in theaters. We still have Superman, we still have Fantastic Four. Do you agree with this 1, 2, 3, or do you think Jurassic World slides in there?
I think Jurassic World. I think everyone's sleeping on Jurassic. But again, we all know that I am not reliable when it comes to a Jurassic Park movie. But I have a good feeling about it. I'm excited. I will say this. I cannot think of a time in recent memory where 1 month of movie releases had me this excited.
I mean, really?
We've had some good stuff come out. August has a few interesting things. We've had a good summer. Sinners, obviously. We've had some really nice stuff. The Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, Fantastic Four trifecta.
Yeah.
I am so excited for July. Like it's wild.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to land, but I'm excited for all three.
And July, we also have Sandman. That's coming out. The final season's coming out. As we mentioned, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is coming out in July as well. It's a massive month of geek stuff coming out in July. So it's going to be crazy, Michael, this whole. And if you're a Twisted Metal, which is kind of a geek project, that is also coming out on July 31st. So this is going to be a hell of a month in July. Reggie, and you're missing 2 weeks of it, for the love of God, or a week of it at least. Reggie Brown says, what are you guys looking forward to more, Spaceballs 2 or Scary Movie with the return of the Wayans brothers?
I'm gonna go Spaceballs 2. I'm gonna go Spaceballs 2.
Crap. No, I have to go. No, I think Scary Movie. There's been so much horror that there is so much to spoof, but then again, there's so much to spoof in Star Wars. So shit. I just don't. I'm going to go Wayans brothers because I kind of like them more than Josh Gad, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's not unfair.
I feel like Spaceballs 2 is probably better in the end. Fantastic 314. Heck yeah, a Kive or a live Geek Buddies. I'm excited for new Spaceballs movies. Just don't do the black people gag from the first one. It was dumb. Oh no, I love that. I love that gag where they're going with the Afro pick and they go, "We ain't found shit." I think that's a great gag. Come on, we got to do a version of that in 2025. I feel like they have to, right? I mean, Kiki Palmer's in it. There's going to be something there. So, Michael, do you think they should get rid of that? No black people.
I mean, it is a funny line. Like there are certain parts of Mel Brooks's humor that don't age great. We'll see. Like, I don't know. I do think that, it's a great example is the Naked Gun trailer where they're all like looking at the versions, like their fathers from the first movie. And the black guy's looking at the picture of OJ and just looks at the screen. He's like, no, man. Like there's ways you can do it that work for today's audience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. Hopefully they can do that. Jay Scoots, all love, but can we get Mike a boom arm for his mic? You can't hear him? I can hear him.
Can you not hear me? I'm so fucking loud. Okay. I'm gonna tell you a story.
Oh boy.
Somebody asked earlier where the painting was behind me, the framed dollars.
Oh yeah.
Look, we are currently repainting and recarpeting this bedroom and the bedroom next door that my brother used to be in. Wow. And I'm going to, and this bed is not the bed that has been here. I had an older bed that was lower. This is actually my brother's old bed. It's higher. The painting was moved because the headboard was hitting it. It's going to go back up eventually. But eventually, the goal is getting a whole new office set up. It's going to look really, really snazzy. You're going to see my toys behind me.
Hey,
so maybe I'll do the hand mic, the boom mic then. But can you guys not hear me? I feel like I'm loud.
No, we can hear you. I don't, Scoots, I don't know what he's talking about. Daniel Briggs is glad I caught you guys live. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts over this season of Doctor Who, especially that regeneration.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm super behind on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
I watched about the first 4 episodes. I liked them. I liked where it was going. I have a whole bunch of Doctor Who to binge, but from what I've heard, I don't know how I feel about that regeneration at the end.
I'm a little farther ahead than Michael, but I also haven't watched, I haven't finished watching this most current season, but I did watch the regeneration because I don't mind that stuff being spoiled for me. But I got to say, it felt like RDJ coming back to Marvel. It did not feel like, oh, this is exciting next step. It felt like, because Shuti Gatway was saying that he was working on a 3rd season. He said that they are working on a 3rd season and implied that he was going to be in it. So this was clearly a last-minute decision that clearly Disney doesn't want to go forward with it. Clearly, people were too upset in the Doctor Who fandom because their feelings got hurt over a gay Doctor Who. And so they had to pivot and move him off, and they want to get people back on board, so they bring in Billy Piper. I personally don't think it was a great move, and it didn't make me excited. It made me feel like they're desperate, and that's not what you want to feel about Doctor Who. So I love Billy. I think she's great as the companion, and now she's going to be a doctor. And there is history for a companion becoming the Doctor in the past. But I don't know if I'm 100% on board with that stuff.
I have to see it to see how I feel about it. But given the little bit that I saw and what I've heard about it, I kind of echo John's thoughts. It feels like a last minute pivot that was not made for creative reasons, but was made for reasons of we're freaking out about our ridiculous parts of our fandom.
Yeah. Julius Wyatt, rank the Toy Story series. Lightyear is a bad movie. You're insane.
3.
Okay. Yes, 3.
1.
Yeah.
4.
Wow.
2.
Wow.
Lightyear. And by the way, just to be clear before everybody comes at me, when I'm ranking the Toy Story movies, I'm ranking 4 A+ movies to me.
Right.
Like I will defend a ton of stuff in Toy Story 4. So to me, when I say 3, 1, 4, 2, it is not because 2 is even my least favorite. It's my 4th favorite of the 4. Like it's like they're all like right here at the top.
Right.
And then there's a really, really big long gap, and then Lightyear.
I don't think Lightyear should count. There is literally, it does not have a Toy Story structure, or the only thing is it's a human influence.
You could argue it doesn't even have a structure.
Oh boy, there it is. I would say 3, 1, 2, 4. That's basically my ranking. Yeah, 3, 1, 2, 4 is where I lie. Flying Too Fly Game. Lightyear was god awful. Dozed off in the theater. Yeah, listen. For whatever reason, it spoke to me. I really liked it. I don't know. Gunn doesn't have an emo Superman instantly better. Oh, come on. Come on. He wasn't emo. Emo is who are you thinking for emo? It's not. You're thinking Kylo Ren. That's fucking emo. Garage Singh says, saw y'all live streaming today and had to support. Thank you, Garage. With so much writing on Fantastic Four and SM this summer. Superman this summer. Is there a way forward if they don't meet quality expectations, even if they are commercial successes at the box office? Oh, I think all they care about is if they're commercial successes. I think quality is almost irrelevant at this point.
Well, yeah, I mean that is, yes, that is, like they care more about the ultimate box office. Like if Superman makes a ton of money and everyone on social media is still arguing about Superman and like restore the Snyderverse, as long as Superman makes a ton of money, they're going to keep going.
Yes.
Fantastic Four the same. Like Fantastic Four is in. Like Marvel's made their, like Fantastic Four is going to come out. They are coming to our universe. Reed Richards is, by all rumors, the lead of Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So they've doubled down on it. They feel good about it. The good news about that is, even if Fantastic Four isn't everything we hope it's going to be, we know we've got 2 more movies coming out to see what they do with the characters, to like let's see where it goes. Superman and Supergirl are a little bit more on the chopping block. Like if those don't perform, are we ever going to see a Brave and the Bold or a Wonder Woman or a World's Finest or anything?
Right. Yeah, I agree with Michael. I think Michael nails it there. But yeah, quality wise, you're going to be able to debate the Superman thing, I think, a little bit more than Fantastic Four, but I think they're both going to be uber successes. And because they are, it buys James Gunn a little more time, and it will give Marvel a little more time to get some more good stuff down for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So yeah. Kyle Wilson says, I hope teeth hitting the camera is Gunn showing his most cheesy choice in the trailer to temper expectations. I feel success lies in the story. What say you? The story.
Yeah, I mean, look, it ultimately is the story. Like, if Gunn has a couple really cheesy Gunn things, or there's a couple jokes that land flat, or they're super cheesy, like if he lands the plane at the end of the day and we're all into the emotion of the story, we sold it. The teeth thing bothers me a lot less than it bothers a lot of other people, but it clearly bothers people.
Yes. Kyle Wilson also says, what do you want to see next in Star Trek? Ooh.
A movie franchise that gets us all really excited.
Yeah, that's actually a really good Yeah. I agree with Mike.
And I think J.J. Abrams' Star Trek is great. I think Wrath of Khan is not great. And I think the third movie was just a nothing burger. But like, I liked that cast. Like, I was on board to see where that went.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ultimately, I think it's probably past its time. I don't know that you can, I know they keep talking about it. I don't know that you can bring that cast back at this point and have people be that excited about it. But yeah, man, I don't know. I love Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I love Strange New Worlds. I think Picard season 3 is like maybe the best Star Trek I've seen in the past decade. But yeah, I'm ready for like whatever's next, whatever that is. I'm ready for it.
I've always wanted a Klingon series, And after watching Andor, if you could do an Andor type series with the Klingons, I think that would be gold. Or with the Borg, I think that would be gold. But yes, what Michael said, we need a movie. This is a movie franchise, for fuck's sake. And it's been fine. It's been great to okay on television, but it needs movies. And I wonder if the plan down the road is to spin off all of these people from Strange New Worlds into movies instead of into a series, which is what they did, of course, with the original series going from that into movies. So this may be the approach they're taking going into movies, but of course it'll depend on how people feel about those characters. So we'll see. Those actors, rather. Fred Tastic 314, if Rebirth wins July, is the month a financial failure? Jurassic World, well, no, I mean, that's $1 billion. That's technically or historically $1 billion per installment franchise. So I don't think there's any shame if you lose to Jurassic World. What do you think, Mike? Is it a financial failure if you lose to Jurassic World?
No, look, if Jurassic World Rebirth makes $1 billion and Superman makes $800 million and Fantastic Four makes $900 million, like, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
I think we're fine. I also think that just given people's movie-going habits thus far over the summer, by and large, I think people are showing up in July.
Yes.
Like, I think that the average moviegoer, the non-geeky moviegoer, is very aware that these 3 movies are coming out.
Yes.
And I think that everyone is like, oh, I'm going to show up for these. That's my guess. So I think all 3 of them have a chance of doing really, really well.
I agree. Kyle Wilson says, Spaceballs 2, what's your tagline?
The search for more money.
Search for more money. I don't think there's much you can say here.
They said it.
Evil John Madden, Mike, you're awesome, but that shirt isn't gas. It gives me gas, but at least you're going for some type of style. John is going for that stepdad look. Yes.
Look.
Go ahead. Yes.
You can come at me all you want. I'm going to wear my Goofy movie shirt with pride. You can't take Powerline away from me. If we listen to each other's heart, we'll find we're never too far apart. And maybe love is the reason why, for the first time ever, we're seeing things eye to eye. That's what I have to say.
Have you seen the Max documentary? Is it out? The Goofy movie documentary?
The Disney Plus documentary? It is great.
Okay, there you go. There's a recommendation for you all. Yeah, I got the stepdad look, and just like your stepdad, I'm going to tell you I'm going out for milk and leave you in the house for the 20 years. That's what I'm doing. Bean Dip Supreme says, I am not going to let this Powerline disrespect stand. Oh, what's that? Yeah, there you go. Going at it. Jay Scotes says, volume is not the issue. Banging and knocking is loud for headphones. Getting the mic off the desk will help.
Okay, that is fair. That is fair. I do bang a lot.
Hey-o.
I'll give you that. Fine. I'll look into it.
There you go. I don't think it's going to make a difference because he's going to keep banging. So you'll just hear the mic arm getting reverberations and the microphone. So, but all right, Scoots. I'm too like him. That's actually Max's Powerline, sir. I meant fave artist. Oh, MJ versus Prince. Michael Jackson versus Prince. Who do you got there, Mike? Oh, that's a tough choice, man. Jesus.
Probably MJ.
What's that?
MJ.
MJ. Okay.
Like, I love both, but when I grew up, I grew up in the era where MJ was the absolute pinnacle of everything.
Right. I mean, I go Prince just because of how things ended with MJ, but it's a tough choice between the two. They're both.
I think as an adult, I appreciate Prince more than I did in the 80s.
Right.
But in the 80s, I was the white boy who went to 2nd grade wearing one of my mom's sequined ski gloves because I was a fucking loser.
Doug Developer says that Michael, enjoy Prague. What's your favorite city?
London.
But
Tokyo is a close second.
Oof. I got it.
London and Tokyo.
I am too like him. Safe travels, Vogel. Avoid Boeing flights if you can.
You said it. You said it.
Fantastic 14. Could Franklin Richards be in the ship in the post credit of Thunderbolts like Superman? I know it isn't, but that would be a crazy twist.
I mean, he's in there with the others,
right?
But yes, he is not being. It is not Franklin Richards being rocketed to Earth without the. Can you imagine? That would be the ultimate. Like, they cast Vanessa Kirby, and Pedro Pascal. We got the Fantastic Four. They're finally coming to the MCU, and at the end of Fantastic Four, they all die, but they send Franklin Richards.
It's just a Superman story in Marvel. Oh man! And Feige already came out and said that ship may not be the ship that Fantastic Four flies into. It's a ship with a 4 on it, but it may not be the Fantastic Four. So that's another thing to put in your mind. Julius Wyatt says, my Toy Story rankings are 2, 3, 1, and 4. I hope Superman is good. Wow,
2 is number one.
Interesting.
It's that Sarah McLachlan song, isn't it?
Oh, probably, yeah. That's
when somebody loved me.
Alan Smithy, I know Mike didn't mean to say Wrath of Khan is not great. He must have meant Into Darkness, because Wrath of Khan is the best Star Trek movie.
Sorry, I meant the new version of Wrath of Khan, which was yes, Wrath of Khan is a great movie.
Yes.
The we're going to do our take on Khan.
Yeah. But
not do anything remotely as cool on any level as what Khan was the big disappointment. Like, and I love Benedict Cumberbatch, but it just did not it was kind of just a big, I think the concept of our second movie out of the gate, we're going to do Khan, the idea of it was very cool, but their execution of it just ended up it was one of those things where they overthought it so much. Oh, you're an advanced clone and you're this and you're it was just, at the end of the day, I was like, this is not as cool as Ricardo Montalban just wearing a weird outfit and a fucking punk rock wig and showing his chest. It's just, he was way better.
Plus, you didn't have the idea that it was an old enemy of Kirk that you could go back and watch that episode of the series who is coming back all these years later. There's something magic about that when you see Wrath of Khan that the Into Darkness tried to shove in there.
It really is the original. You know what? I don't think they get enough credit for that. That was the OG. Yes. We talk about how cool it is that Ahsoka made the jump from animation to live action and this, or that Grogu and Mando are getting their movie, or that the Ghost ship and Chopper show up in Rogue One. But this was the OG. They took a bad guy from an episode or 2 episodes of Star Trek and said, hey, guess what? Maybe you didn't watch the show. We don't give a fuck. This is the bad guy in our movie. It really is pretty awesome.
I agree. It isn't like Ricardo was a great, he was a renowned actor on film. This was an incredible moment, and it just lined up perfectly, and he delivered one hell of a performance. So
I'm going to tell you, when I was a little kid and my mom would drive us, the place where she got her hair did, I'd have to go with her, and there was a video rental store right next door to where she got her hair did. And we would always go in there and we could rent movies or whatever. And this is before I was really a nerd. I didn't know anything about Star Trek. I was really young, but there was a giant poster in that movie store, in that rental store, of Ricardo Montalban in his full Khan regalia with 2 women on either side, just sort of leaning on him. And I would stare at that thing, and my mom would be like, oh yeah, those girls are really pretty. And I want to be like, Mom, I'm not looking at the women.
There you go. Derek Johnson. Oh, thank you, Derek. What a very kind donation, man. He said, missed the show, had an appointment, show up late. Oh, sorry, Derek. Hey, John, I don't have Twitter, but Christian has my email. Hope everyone has a great weekend. Love the Geek Buddies. Yes, thank you, Derek. Very kind of you. I will reach out, brother. I'll talk to Christian about your email, and I'll reach out. Thank you, my friend. Kyle Wilson, Picard teased Legacy captaining 7 of 9 movie. Yeah, but then I don't think it's going to happen, right? The other stuff connected, I think. I don't know. We'll see. Vincent Zawada, fave Johnny Cash song. His version of Hurt is amazing. Favorite Johnny Cash song? Shit.
Ring of Fire, right?
Mine is John Henry. His version of John Henry is 8 minutes long, and it's incredible. So for me, that's my choice. Although I love Ring of Fire, I love what's the train I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. I love that one. But John Henry, the 8 minute John Henry is the shit. Oh, and also Will the Circle Remain Unbroken, which I think is an awesome one. Derek Johnson says, I'm much more of a Star Trek than a Star Wars fan. Well, I hope you enjoyed our
I don't know why I have to choose.
Yeah. Why choose?
I love both. I mean, if you forced me down and said I had to, I think Star Wars has been a bigger part of my life all around. Right. But boy, I love Star Trek. I love the Federation. I think it's great.
Yeah, I go Star Trek over Star Wars, but it's close. So I'm the reverse of Michael, but either one, they're fantastic when they're done well. Smithy says, breaking news, Gary Oldman has been knighted by King Charles. He is now Sir Gary Oldman. Sid Vicious would be proud. Wait, Sid, I would actually hate this. Actually, yeah, I'm sure he would. Michael,
when you tell me that Gary Oldman was knighted, all I picture is him dressed up as his character from Slow Horses being knighted and then farting. I want his Slow Horses character to be knighted is what I'm picturing in my head. It's like smoking, like cigarette hanging out, like bottle of whiskey in his pocket. He's wearing a trench coat, stringy hair in his face. That's what I want to see.
With every touch of the sword. With every touch of the sword. It's amazing. Gary Oldman, respect. I love it. Evil John Madden says Wrath of Khan is the best, but the only real problem within the darkness, Kirk's fake death and Spock screaming into the. I agree. They didn't earn it. They didn't earn it. And I agree. That reverse was. I remember just throwing my eyes into the ceiling when that happened. Like, how could you make such a mistake thinking people were this invested like they were with Shatner and Nimoy?
Well, you could, but like, I'll give you a pitch. I'll give you a pitch that I think would have really, I think if you had set it up, and again, I wouldn't necessarily have done this,
right,
because I would want to keep her in the movie. But if you had set it up like you were doing the classic Kirk Spock thing, I don't think they earned it, and I think it wouldn't work. But if Uhura had come in and then had done something and she had been the one that then died and both Spock and Kirk were fucked up, just given the love, I think people would have been so shocked by that. That it would have been I think you would have gotten an emotional reaction because you were like, oh fuck. Yeah. Like that, I just think they did that thing where they tried to do Khan so differently to be different. But then they were like, but let's still do this part. But you're like, dude, that's not going to happen. You're not doing that. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah, I agree on. That's a great pitch. I'd love to see that movie. Anthony V, we have these three Streamlabs and we'll get out of here. Michael Anthony V says, I'm sad that Star Trek Strange New Worlds is ending after 5 seasons. Are we seeing the end of the Kurtzman era of Star Trek? Academy will be the only show left. I still want a Captain 7 of the Enterprise G series in a post-Paramount merger era. Yeah, I think that's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen, but boy, I want it to.
Yeah.
End of Picard had me amped. I would have followed that. I'm in. I'm in on all of that. Q showing up in the post-credit sequence. I was like, sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah. I agree with you, Mike. Yeah.
I would go see them as a movie. Oh, if you did Star Trek Legacy as a movie and it was just you took that crew from Picard and you put them all in a movie and you put a couple other big names in there to fill out the cast, I would do that too.
These are all great pitches. I love it. I would absolutely be down with that. Doug Developer says, recently watched The Emperor's New Groove, and I think it's the funniest Disney film ever. Like Robin Williams as the genie, Eartha Kitt as Yzma is irreplaceable. What other animated voice performances do you feel are at their level? Well, I mean, Toy Story, everybody in Toy Story is excellent.
Well, there's excellent, but then there's iconic, what he's talking, this is Yzma, the genie.
Maybe. What about what's her face who did Ursula, right? In Little Mermaid? That's iconic, right?
That's pretty iconic. Pat Carroll is pretty iconic.
Yeah.
You could make a Jeremy Irons argument
for
Scar. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going through the Rolodex in my brain. But to that level, it's just Yzma took it to a whole other level. If you want to do something, if you don't know this, and it didn't end up fitting because they ended up redeveloping the entire movie. But Yzma did have a song called Snuff Out the Light. And ultimately, it didn't fit the plot that they changed it to. But it was far enough down the line that Eartha Kitt did record it. And it was on the original soundtrack album when it came out. And a lot of people have put it to animatics and stuff. So if you Google Snuff Out the Light, you get a real treat of Eartha Kitt singing a Disney villain song that you never got to see in the movie. But it still slaps.
Oh, sorry, I didn't take this one down. What is it? Is it Disney or is it voice? Oh, so what other animated voice? Well, I'd have to say Eddie Murphy, right? Either in Mulan or as Donkey. Those are pretty iconic.
I think not Eddie Murphy, not in Mulan, although he's great. But I do think Eddie Murphy as Donkey, yes.
I would say that.
I think Eddie Murphy as Donkey, yes.
Right. Yeah. there's a list here on Variety, and they have Rob Williams as number 1. They have Pat Carroll as number 2. Eleanor Audrey in Sleeping Beauty as Maleficent. Ellen DeGeneres in Finding Nemo. I guess. Tom Hanks, Toy Story. Eartha Kitt. Idina Menzel in Frozen. Angela Lansbury in Beauty and the Beast. How about her? Would you say that's iconic?
They're not the same. Like, they're great.
Okay.
But, like, I think that here's the difference. If I was going to throw this out, like, Angela Lansbury is amazing as Mrs. Potts.
Yes.
If you put Helen Mirren in there, I think Helen Mirren does a great job too.
Fair point.
I think that's great.
Okay.
I think that nobody could do what Robin Williams did.
Okay.
Like, it's just not possible. Like, you can take you can put any other comedian in the history of comedy and put them in the genie, and it actually is not going to be the same thing. Nobody else can do it. And with Yzma, Eartha Kitt's voice is so specific. Her delivery is so iconic that, like, nobody else can do it. And I think a lot of these others, you're like, you were very good.
Right.
But there's a world where somebody else played that role and they were also very good. But it's like, who are those roles that you're like, nobody else in the entire world? Like, I would even argue, and I think Mike Myers as Shrek is great, and his voice is really specific, and the accent and the whole thing. Right. There's a world where somebody else plays Shrek and it's good.
It was Chris Farley originally.
It was Chris Farley originally,
before he died. Yeah. So, that's a possibility. And for those who don't know, I sent this to Michael, knew this already, but I sent this in our group chat, our Geek Buddies group chat. But, like, Billy Crystal was the original choice for Woody. And so that's a whole nother movie that Billy Crystal is Woody instead of Mike in Monsters, Inc. That would have been interesting to see that film. With him.
Yes, Powerline. Tevin Campbell as Powerline does not get the respect he deserves. I agree with that in the chat. Given the shirt that some of you all hate, I don't even care because it's Powerline.
Tevin Campbell, man. Can we talk? Fred Tastic 314 says, testing 1, 2, 3. Just hoping this one got through. It did, Fred. Both Pixar and DreamWorks have been delivering great content as of late. Michael, would you agree with that? I think you're more knowledgeable on this than I am.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I'm trying to think what the last DreamWorks movie was.
Wasn't that's Illumination. I was thinking the Minions one, but
no, that's Illumination.
Okay, all right. Here, if there's another one, I'll look at it. But, like, here is the last one. What's Kyle Wilson? What Star Trek alien would you all endure makeup for? Oh, please, Klingon in a fucking heartbeat. Not even a question. Michael.
My initial reaction was going to say Borg because I would just love to see myself Borged up. But I would probably sit for a really long time to be put in, like, that Ferengi makeup. I think me as a Ferengi.
Oh my God.
Like, walking around trying to make some deals, wheeling and dealing. Like, I think I would go Ferengi.
Listen, some of you all watching us are animators or at least amateur animators. Please, for the love of God, create Mike Vogel as a Ferengi. I want to see it. Tweet at us on that one. So for DreamWorks, we've had Dogman, The Wild Robot. Kung Fu Panda 4, Orion in the Dark, The Trolls films, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, Puss in Boots, The Bad Guys, The Boss Baby, and The Croods, and Trolls World Tour just over the last few years, and then Abominable, and the How to Train Your Dragon one. So I mean, I think let's honestly, just Wild Robot and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish on their own are both A+++. And then Pixar, look, I Inside Out 2 is amazing. I argue with anybody. I got in this argument on Twitter the other day. Like, I think that Luca at Soul, I'm kind of mixed on. I think half of Soul is great and half of it's kind of not. But I think Luca and Turning Red are both amazing Pixar movies. I agree. Turning Red especially. I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I mean, I know for me, I like Onward. I know it's not in the top echelon, but I think that was a damn good movie.
Oh, I love it. Like, listen, Onward is like probably like it could have been a little bit better than it was. Right. But the end of Onward, when his dad does show up and Tom Holland like lets Chris Pratt go see his dad, like, you can't tell me that you don't watch that and fucking bawl your face off.
That's in the top 5 moments father-son moments that destroy me in movies. Absolutely. That's up there with Field of Dreams and up there with the end of Return of the Jedi when he says, you were right. You know, it's awesome. Derek says, I'm going to need more live Geek Buddies shows. Need somewhere to drop some extra funds for the great content these guys put out. Thank you, Derek. We'll see what I can do. These two gentlemen have some really busy schedules, but I love doing live shows with them, and I thank you guys for enjoying it. And yes, as a Klingon, I would be amazing. God damn it. All right, let's wrap it up there, Mike. We're almost at 2 hours. We should kill it. We got to go on with our lives. It's a Friday night. We have things to do. At least I have things like making dinner and hanging out with the lady. I'm sure you have much more exciting things to do. But
I will not be staying at home. I have plans. But yes.
Thanks to everybody who joined us live. Hope you enjoyed our happy hour discussion. I hope you enjoyed your drinks as you were talking with us. And Michael, what do we have to tell the wonderful folks who are listening to us or watching us here on the Geek Buddies?
If you would like to follow us, you can do so on Twitter at geek_buddies, on Instagram at _geek_buddies. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, you can do so at The Rocha Says. You can follow me at MKToon. And you can also do the following. Smash that like button below. Show us the love there. We love to see it. Go ahead and leave your comments. If you're listening to this later, let us know what you thought about literally everything we talked about. We covered pretty much everything in geek culture. So let us know what you think below. Don't forget to subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page.
Please.
Check out all the amazing content he has got there. If you're listening to this on a podcast, go ahead and leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies, and don't forget to tell them how much you love when I wear this shirt that represents Powerline from a Goofy movie.
There you go. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, thank you all so much. And shout out to our brother Shannon McClung, who is, as we said, on a boat somewhere, hopefully safe as hell. And we will see him.
He's probably seasick.
He's probably over the side of it for sure. But we will see him next week here on the Geek Buddies. So thanks to everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be well. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of The
Geek Buddies! Hey!